I have thought to myself over the years, like, I wonder if Jennifer knows I got paid so little for all of the work I did on her album.
I'm not an up-tempo girl. So they're like, go with what people know and then hit them with the 1-2. That was my 2. By the time I got to the 2, Jennifer Lopez was out with her 1, which was mine.
I need to know this from me. J.Lo's I'm Real. Now, did you sing the reference to it? Because I hear you all over the song.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why didn't they take Ashanti off the song? Because I feel like you sang the whole song.
For anyone to think or suggest or say that I'm racist is really absurd and hurtful to me.
Und was ist mit J.Lo?
I don't know.
Die kenne ich nicht.
Ups.
For decades, Jennifer Lopez has been one of the most recognizable names in music and film. But behind the glitz and hits, there's been an ongoing debate. How much of her music career was really her own voice? Rumors have swirled that Lopez built her music career on the voices and work of other artists. In this video, we'll dig into the rumors to try and answer the question: did Jennifer really sing her way to the top? Love music. Dive deeper into the stories behind the hits and hidden gems and explore the eras that have defined some of your favourite artists. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Hit that bell icon so you're always the first to know when I drop new content. Now back to the video. Jennifer's career evolution is often seen as one of the most seamless crossovers in entertainment. She first broke into the industry as a dancer, gaining visibility as a fly girl on the 90s comedy show In Living Colour. This role not only showcased her talent, but also gave her a foothold in Hollywood. She then pursued acting, landing small roles before her breakout performance as Tejano icon Selena Quintanilla in the 1997 biopic. Her portrayal received critical praise and proved she could carry a film, solidifying her as a serious actress. After Selena, Lopez felt deeply connected to her Latin roots, and due to her passion for music, decided to record a demo titled Viva Sin Ti. Her then manager sent it to Sony, who showed interest in signing her to the label. However, Tommy Mottola, who was the label head at the time, encouraged Lopez to record songs in English as well as Spanish, leading to the creation of her debut album. This move established her as one of the few entertainers who could dominate in both film and music simultaneously. The first single, If You Had My Love, was a global hit and firmly established J.Lo as one of the rising stars at the turn of the millennium. Crafted by Darkchild, a producer known for his sleek, futuristic R&B, the track blended smooth mid-tempo grooves, fluttering synths, and a sultry vocal delivery that sat comfortably between pop accessibility and R&B sensuality. The single became an instant hit, reaching #1 in multiple countries including the US, Australia, and New Zealand, as well as reaching the top 10 in over 10 countries. But some listeners, particularly those in the R&B space, noticed Jennifer's song drew some heavy comparisons with another song recorded that same year. If I Gave Love was a song that appeared on Shante Moore's third project, and coincidentally was also written and produced by Darkchild. After hearing J.Lo's single, many were quick to point out that the two sounded incredibly similar. Both songs share nearly identical melodies, chord progressions, and production, to the point where they sound like sister tracks. The only real difference between the two are the lyrics. Some blamed Darkchild for being lazy with his production and his use of recycled beats and arrangements. Some blamed Diddy, who was making backdoor moves to secure the song for Jennifer, while others blamed Sony, who knowingly took the track and marketed it in spite of Shante's version already being in circulation.
But, everyone in life has career choices that they make, decisions that they make. And I would like to ask you, Shante Moore, to share with us a decision that you made that was impactful, either positively or negatively.
J.Lo and I came out around the same time when her first album came out. And Rodney Jerkins actually came and wrote this wonderful song for me called If I Gave Love. And the Jennifer Lopez song was If You Had My Love. He wrote the same song for her. I heard that it was because Puff Daddy walked in and heard my song and said, I want that song. And he was like, yeah, well, that's already taken. We wrote that for Shante and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, I want that song. So Rodney wrote really the same song. Honestly, if you hear my song, it's the same song. But we should have been aggressive instead of backing off our single, because that was going to be my next single after Shantae's Got a Man. And we backed off of it because J.Lo had such a machine at the time. We should have just stepped out.
So there's a little sting.
Yeah, I wanted to sock Rodney Jerkins in the head.
I heard an interview recently with Shante Moore, and she mentioned about J.Lo had the song that you did for her that J.Lo took it. And I'm like, what, Rodney? What happened?
It's two sides of every story. The Bible says it's two sides of every story. But we laugh about that now.
Wait, it just came out recently, and I saw it.
I was really mad at Rodney Jerkins. That hurt. I went in and recorded the song with Rodney. I should have been able to read the water while we were there. And he was like, don't have me at his song and it not be the first single. And I was like, I control that. And Lil kept saying, Jimmy and Terry, we do not have the first single. We kept going back in the studio. It took us like 3 or 4 months to get Shantae's Got a Man. And so Shantae's Got a Man unanimously from everybody that heard it was like, Shantae's Got a Man first, then If I Gave Love. I'm not an up-tempo girl. So they're like, go with what people know and then hit them with the 1-2. That was my 2. By the time I got to the 2, Jennifer Lopez was out with her 1, which was mine. I just could have just.
So what do? You call Rodney and cuss him out?
He didn't answer the phone. I did see him out quite a bit. Now, he has actually come to me a couple of times and said, I'm so sorry. I was in my ego, in my own thing right then. And I was doing what I was thinking what was right to do.
Yeah, well, she says that we gave her song to J.Lo. It wasn't that we gave her song to J.Lo, it's that there was a similarity in the hook lyrically and I think what happened was the record company didn't make a deal for the song. So we did it, or maybe they did, They made it. Maybe they did do a deal for the song. If I can remember, it's hard for me to remember. That was early in my career.
Jennifer's third single, Waiting for Tonight, has become one of her signature hits. Its 2000s house production and club-friendly vibe showed she could thrive in dance, and not just R&B. The song hit the top 10 on the Hot 100, won a VMA for Best Dance Video, and ultimately cemented Lopez as more than an actress dabbling in music. However, the track was originally recorded by Maria Christensen's group Third Party. Before Lopez re-recorded it for her debut album. Initially, it was reported that J.Lo disliked the demo, calling it cheesy, but producer Corey Rooney saw its potential. Believing it could be a hit, Rooney personally invested $50,000 to have the track reworked. The revamped version shifted from a Europop sound to a sleek dance pop track. Once Lopez heard the new arrangement, she embraced the song and laid down fresh vocals, turning it into one of her signature hits. Due to the song transitioning from Third Party to Jennifer, Maria Christensen, who wrote the song, was credited on J.Lo's version as a writer and background vocalist.
Wow, isn't that something? So it actually did get released with your group.
On an album.
And because I know that there's a lot of artists these days that won't cut a song if it's already been released with somebody else. So how did that happen where Jennifer Lopez, I'm sorry if we're moving ahead too far, but just if we could continue.
Oh, it's okay. So then what happened was Rick was really good at recycling songs that he loved. So I was signed to his, publishing company. So what he would do is whenever he got the chance to produce an artist, and he was producing a lot of big artists So he had the chance to produce Jennifer Lopez. And at the time, she was an actress. And a lot of actresses would want to be singers and kind of wouldn't work. But something told me this was going to work because she had played Selena. So he came to me and said, I want her to do this song. How do you feel about it? And I was like, absolutely, please, because third party was already over. And she recorded it. And then I heard rumblings of it being a single. And it did. So second single on the album, and it was life-changing for me.
In this case, Maria was brought back to provide background vocals on Jennifer's version. Her layered harmonies were blended with Lopez's lead to give the track extra richness and polish, rounding out the sound with depth and texture. This not only tied the song back to its origins, but also gave Lopez's recording a smoother, more professional finish. Despite Maria's backing vocals being added, Jennifer's own voice is still clearly present and distinct, particularly on the verses where her tone and phrasing stand out. This careful balancing allowed Lopez to establish her identity as a pop star, while benefiting from Christensen's vocal support, something which is fairly common in the industry. There have long been rumours around the single feeling so good that some sections don't sound entirely like her, with some suggesting an uncredited vocalist may have filled in some parts. At this point in her career, J.Lo was being pushed as the main Latina in the mainstream, who was capable of doing pop, dance, and R&B. Wanting to capitalise on this momentum, Sony released the lead single from her sophomore project just 5 months after Let's Get Loud, which served as the final single from her debut.
The thing with Rick Wake is he produced one of the biggest songs in the last album called Waiting for Tonight. And when he knew we were doing this, he wanted to get on the album and he was really persistent about it. And he had sent in a few things, I guess, to Sony. And I had never heard them, you know, because I guess, Tommy listens to stuff in Corey and they kind of do an edit process, which, I totally trust them artistically. So they hadn't done anything. So Rick kept asking me, have you heard any of my stuff? And I was like, I think I heard something. I wasn't vibing it too much and this and that. And I'm like, Corey, did Rick send anything in? I want to hear his stuff. And he's like, yeah, but, we'll see about it. I don't know. So the thing with him is like, what I love about him so much is that even though he knew we weren't vibing some of the first stuff, he didn't give up there. He just kept coming back. He'd be hanging around the studio. He'd be like, I got something new for you. What about this? What about that? And we're like, until one day he walks in and he plays me. He's really excited about this dance track. And he plays it for me and I'm like, okay. He says, I got 3 for you. Listen to all 3. The second one he plays is this kind of R&B with these big sounding timpanis and all this kind of stuff and tubas. And I was like, what is that? And then he was like, oh, that's Love Don't Cost a Thing. And I was like, I'm recording that. And he's like, okay. And he goes on, he plays me the third one and da-da-da. And then, he kind of just played it off casual, like no big deal. And I said, no, Rick, I'm recording that tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing that record. And he's like, oh, okay. Turns out he brings in the first smash single of the album. Rick, thank you very much. It was great.
Love Don't Cost a Thing is one of J.Lo's biggest singles and solidified her status as a sex symbol. The song, which is rumoured to be about the singer's ex-Diddy and the lavish gifts he bought her, is said to actually be the reason for their breakup. This time, Jennifer can be heard prominently throughout the majority of the song, and whilst background vocals were added by another artist, it is clear that Jennifer is singing the lead this time around. While there is no background singer listed in the credits, it's been long rumoured to be Canella Cox, an artist who was attempting to break into the industry around the same time.
Play. This is funny because I can take no credit for this at all. And it's probably going to be one of the biggest records off of the album. One day me and Corey in the studio again, as usual, and we get a phone call from Tommy Mottola. I'm in Sweden. I have a smash record. You have to do it right now. And we look at each other like, okay. I was like, he has a record. He wants us to listen. We put him on speakerphone. We listen to this track in a very rough form. And we both look at each other like, oh my God. He wants us to do this record. So it's like, what do you think? What do you like? We're like, yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'm It's hard to hear over the phone, you know? And he's like, I'm telling you, this record is incredible. I'm like, okay. So we hang up the phone and Corey's like, major surgery, scalpel, please. You know? It's like, oh, damn, what are we going to do? But Tommy really believed in the record, and he was relentless. He would not give up. He's like, you know, calls like an hour later. So I'm flying the guys to Sweden on Monday. This was like Thursday. I'm flying them from Sweden on Monday. You guys will work Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll get this record done. And I'm telling you, it's a smash. You guys, you know, change the words a little bit if you want. Do whatever you want to it. I don't care. But this track, I'm telling you. So we're like, okay, Tommy, okay. Hit up the phone. Sure enough, I go away for the weekend to do something. I come back Monday morning. They're the guys from Sweden, right there, on tour and Anders, and there they are in the studio playing with all their computers. And I'm like, hey, nice to meet you guys. So I pull Corey to the side. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you know what? Actually, I just fooled around with it a little bit, me and then and them, and you know, I think it's gonna be hot. And I'm like, yeah. I said, you're not just gassing me, being the Tommy soldier of it all. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, it's hot. So I listened to it, and I was like, you changed that. And he's like, yeah, it's gonna be hot. Again, went in, recorded it. It turned out to be, you know, a shoo-in for making it on the album, you know. So thanks, Tommy.
Christina, like, it must be noted that you wrote 2 massive hits, Play for Jennifer Lopez and then Baby for Justin Bieber. I was just doing a little bit of research, and I didn't realize that you wrote Play at 19 years old. Like, how, like, what do you remember from that experience? And also, what were the conversations like in its, you know, journey to end up on J.Lo's record? Were you ever regretful that you didn't record it? Well, I mean, you did record the chorus.
Pick that up. Wow. So let me tell you how this all happened. And it's kind of it's actually a really fun story. So it was on my 19th birthday. I was in Sweden working with Bloodshy and Avant. And I was supposed to go in the studio the next day with Anders Bag and go write a song for me, actually. So I was partying that night. We went to Fridays. That was my first time at Fridays in Sweden. And that night we just stayed up all night, and we were just like being goofy. Like, we painted our faces. It was like your typical 18-year-old, 18, 19. Actually, I was kind of a really immature 19-year-old, to be honest with you. So it's probably something a 15-year-old would do. So face painting and so I went to bed late that night, and I woke up the next morning, had to go to the studio, and I didn't write the song. Like, I had the track and I didn't write anything. So I sat down in the bed. I had this track. I was like really tired. And I played the track, and I was like, and I was like, this just sounds like too easy. It was just too easy to write at that moment. I wrote the song in like 15 minutes. And it was a joke to me a little bit, because it was like, I had just started to become a writer, and I just did a lot of rhymes, and I was like, it's like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. And I told my mom, I was like, here, come listen. And she's like, no, I love it. So I go to the studio, I record the song. And in that same week, I had also written and recorded AM to PM. So I was like, oh, two party songs on one album. I bet the label's not going to like it. Signed it to the label. They were like, all right, it's cool. But I was like, yep, we got AM to PM. I was like, AM to PM is my jam. A month later, the producers tell me, oh, Tommy Mottola's coming in and he's going to listen to some music. The guy comes in, he hears Play, loves it. And he's like, I want this as her single. And like a month later, and so yes, I recorded the original demo. A month later, Tommy Mottola gets it for Jennifer. And next thing I know, she's going to New York. She's in New York. She's recording the song. I came in to help rewrite some of the stuff. And yes, I sing backgrounds on it. It's no different than Michael Jackson having background singers on songs, or Britney Spears. Like, this is what music is made of. You want a blend of voices. It makes songs better, to me. So it's funny when people kind of like talk about this being a thing about Jennifer, me singing on the song with Jennifer. I have background singers on some of my songs. So to me, yes, hands down, she killed it. She's so good. I love that song. I'm so happy that she did it. And I can't believe at 19 years old, I wrote a song for J.Lo.
Thank you for sharing that story, because I was always so curious just how you felt about that, because that is something that comes up on Twitter and social media often. Yeah. It's like, oh, give Christina that feature credit, but it's interesting to hear your thoughts about it and how you were ultimately happy that it ended up with J.Lo.
No, I'm so happy, and I don't need a feature credit. I'm on the credits as you know, for whatever nature as a writer and for singing backgrounds. There is credit for that, and to me, I'm just also just so happy that she did it because she's an icon. She's amazing.
Play, which served as the follow-up single, was written by a young Christina Milian. Christina, who later found success with her own hit Dip It Low, provided prominent vocals for Play, especially on the chorus where Lopez's presence is minimal. Christina is credited for background vocals, but her voice is undeniably front and center, with some listeners going as far to say she should have been listed as a featured artist due to the limited presence on the chorus from Jennifer.
We had got to the point in the album we had recorded maybe 10 or 12 records. And it's you always get to this point in the album where, like, for a few days, or could last weeks, could last months, where you just get to the point and you're like, okay, we need a smash. We need a smash to put this album to bed. You have, like, good stuff, you have great stuff, but it's not, you know when you get that record and you're like, all right, send it to the presses. We hadn't got there yet. And we were in the studio for like a few days, and it's kind of just like, what are we doing? Okay, well, let's do some fixes on this, and let's do some fixes on that, and this and that. And then Troy Oliver brings in a track, and Corey's like, I want you to listen to this. I come into the studio one morning, and we were going to do, like, some fixes on some background vocals of something, you know, of some record. And Corey's like, listen to this. So he plays it for me, and I'm like, listening to it, and I'm like, oh, my God, I love this. That's the chorus, right? This is the verse. And they're like, no. They had actually, the way Troy had written the track, where what I put as the chorus was the verse, and he wanted the verse to be the chorus. And I go, I'll do it. I'll take this track. I'll buy this track right now, but this is going to be the chorus, and this is going to be the verse, and I want to take it right now, and I have an idea for it. Let me take it over to the other room and just sit down with it while you guys, you know, set up. They were setting up. So I go into the other room and I kind of sit down and I'm listening to this, and I start pontificating on things and the direction of the album and what it has to be and this and that. And then I just sit there and I go, okay. And then I just sat down, and it was actually a really, really important moment for me as a songwriter in my career, because it was the first time I wrote melody, where I actually wrote music, you know. So I sat there and I started writing all this stuff, and Benny was actually, my manager, was sitting next to me, and I say, okay, I got it, listen to this, right? And I sing it to him, and he kind of looks at me like, okay, are you gonna leave the bad, bad bitch line in? And I'm like, that's part of the song. We could get somebody really cool to say it. It's gonna be a guy, and it's gonna be like this. It's gonna be, I'm real, what you gotta say, trying to do. You're telling all your friends, she's a bad, bad bitch. He just looks at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, I'm gonna go sing it for Corey because he's gonna get it. So I go, he's no, I like it. I said, whatever. So I go to the other room, and I'm really kind of nervous about it because, like I said, it's the first time I wrote a melody. So I didn't know if it was good, although it sounded good in my ear. You know, you never know. You can't be objective sometimes. So I go to Corey and I say, I have this. And the room is full. You know, when you're hanging out in a studio, he has his boys, and his boys have his boys, and it's always full of boys. And I go over to Corey and I go, you know, I wrote something to it. He's like, already? It was like 15 minutes later from the time I went in there. And I said, yeah, but I only want to sing it for you, you know? And he's like, okay. So I sing it in his ear, and he starts dialing a number. And he's like, this is my answering machine. Sing it right here before we forget it. So I guess he liked it. And we actually wound up recording it that night.
The initial third single from the project was the album version of I'm Real, which sparked some controversy, but this time it was not for the vocals. Instead, it was the behind-the-scenes drama that had taken place with the production. The firecracker sample that can be heard throughout the track was originally secured by Mariah Carey for her glitter track Loverboy. However, Lopez's team managed to license its usage first. This left Mariah feeling forced to change her version. Mariah believed her ex-husband, Tommy Mottola, had intervened on Lopez's behalf to sabotage Mariah's release, as well as benefiting his own artist. And this situation is what led to the now infamous meme of Mariah.
Und was ist mit J.Lo?
Die kenne ich nicht.
Ups.
I still don't know her.
You and me are the same business manager.
I don't know her. Like, I forget.
And you're not going to believe what the singer claims J.Lo is really doing on her hit record.
Mariah lashes out at Jennifer in October's Talk magazine on stands tomorrow. When interviewer Vanessa Gregoriadis, who originally spoke with Mariah for Allure, told Carey she'd recently interviewed Lopez, Carey said, quote, "I bet it was really intellectually stimulating. I bet you could just see the depth in her eyes. She was so soulful."
You know, she just really didn't like hearing Jennifer Lopez's name. It wasn't somebody she wanted to talk about.
Mariah, who calls herself Supergirl, says she often sleeps just 3 hours a night. When told Lopez claimed to get 8, Mariah said, quote, "If I had the luxury of not actually having to sing my own songs, I'd do that too."
Certainly, she doesn't have a lot of respect for her as a singer.
Gregoriadis says Mariah's attitude toward Lopez stems from her belief that part of the melody in Jennifer's hit, I'm Real, comes from Mariah's own song, Loverboy. Though the music actually comes from a song recorded in the 70s, Mariah still thinks something's fishy.
This didn't make any sense to her. How did a melody that she had locked down over the summer, last summer, suddenly appear on Jennifer Lopez's album? This was something that really bothered her.
Mariah also aims her anger at ex-husband Tommy Mottola, head of Sony Music, for which Lopez records. She alleges that Lopez is so under his wing that he even groomed her to look like his ex-wife.
She is so completely driven by the idea that she wants to remain on top without Tommy that, you know, that may have actually been her undoing.
Once again, Jennifer wasn't the only one singing the chorus. In 2019, vocalist Shalene Thomas came forward and confirmed that it was actually her voice featured on the track. This revelation added to the long-standing conversation around Lopez's reliance on background singers and reference vocals throughout her career. Shalene's vocals are again turned up so much that you can barely hear J.Lo during these parts. While it's not clear how much involvement J.Lo had in the usage of the sample, it certainly wasn't good press, especially coupled with the issues that would arise once the remix version dropped. According to Corey Rooney, who contributed to the writing and production of I'm Real, urban radio stations were initially disappointed that Jennifer's single didn't cater to their audiences, and Epic Records knew they needed support from both urban and pop formats to continue J.Lo's momentum. As album sales began to dwindle, Corey suggested remixing the track, prompting Tommy Mottola to involve Ja Rule. Initially unsure how to approach a pop song, Ja Rule decided to create a new track using the same title.
So Tommy Mottola calls me at like 6 a.m. 6, 7, it was obscenely early, and he calls me because he found out me and Rule made a record with Mariah Carey. And at the time, he hated Mariah Carey. So he was pumping Jennifer Lopez to compete. So he calls me 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what's up, Tom? What the f you want? This, oh. He says, Irv, I need you to do me a favor. I said, what's up? I need you to make a record with J.Lo, but I want you to put Ja Rule on it and make it a duet kind of a record. So immediately when he says that, I'm like, this. He knows we just did this shit with Mariah, which was a duety record, and he's trying to f Mariah. Then I went into the creative part. I said, look, man, I want total creative control. I don't want you telling me what to make. If I got to do a record with J.Lo, I want to do it however the f I want to do it. He says, I don't give a f what you do as long as it's a duet.
What made you call in Irv Gotti and them for I'm Real?
It had nothing to do with Irv Gotti. You know, it had a lot to do with the fact that at that moment, R&B radio absolutely they didn't even want to talk. They didn't want to play any J.Lo records.
What you mean?
They didn't want to play no J.Lo records because the first album, we had success with it, but they said
it was pop.
They said it was too pop. She never came to our station. She never did a drop. She never supported us. She don't support us. We ain't fucking with her at all. So it's not even about whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and the hottest thing on the radio at that moment was Ja Rule, right? So it was more of a Ja Rule thing, not an Irv thing.
Gotcha.
Irv came with the package, but it was Ja. And at that moment, Ja had like records back to back on the radio, but he had no project out at that moment. So let's fill the void and give radio another Ja Rule record. So I went into the studio, met them at the Crack House where Eric's studio was. And I said, look, this record, I told Ja Rule, this record has to not be, I don't need 8 bars or 16 bars. This needs to be a duet.
Duet.
Like Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack. You gotta go back and forth. And first he really didn't understand what I meant by that. You know, and the guy Seven Aurelius, like Seven. Dope. He came up with the track. So I said it has to be a real duet. I said because radio won't play it, because they already told us, don't bring me a remix or a record with a rapper, because a lot of the stations, when you go outside of certain regions, they don't even play rap.
So
you could drive down south and there's stations that go, you know, 24 hours of R&B and no rap. That's what they say.
Yeah.
You know, so that wasn't gonna work. I said, this can't be something that they could deny. Ja Rule was laughing in the studio. He's like, yo, he's in the vocal booth like, yo, Rooney think I'm a singer or something like that. I said, you sing on every record you've ever made. You are a singer. What are you talking about? Every record you're
Was he
singing.
aware that he wasn't singing or singing?
Nah, but he, you know, the more he got into it, to be honest with you, the more he got into it, like, and started, you know, now everybody loving me and treating me. He started feeling it, and he locked in. All right, let's go. Now I know what you want.
So you and Corey Rooney and Ja Rule brought J.Lo into the hip hop scene.
Absolutely.
Collaborating with Irv Gotti, the Murder remix of I'm Real was crafted, which samples 2 classic hits, Mary Jane Girls All Night Long and Rick James' Mary Jane. Whilst the original version received favourable reviews, it was the remix that caught everyone's attention. It was widely praised, with critics highlighting it as an unexpected but welcome pairing. The collaboration between Ja Rule's rough delivery and J.Lo's smooth vocals were noted for creating a smooth radio-friendly sound. The remix was recognised as a bolder, sexier reinterpretation of the original, and the song would later rank among the top duets of all time. However, it was here where the singer's use of background vocals were once again called into question. Many listeners noticed that J.Lo's vocals sounded remarkably similar to another well-known artist.
I need to know this from me. J.Lo's I'm Real. When you said, you wrote that, right?
No, Ja wrote
Ja
I'm
wrote.
Real. I wrote Ain't It Funny.
Okay. Now, did you sing the reference to it? Because I hear you all over the song.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why didn't they take Ashanti off the song? Because I feel like you sang the whole song.
Well, I demoed the record for her. That was way, way back. That was before I was signed to Murder Inc. And they kept my hook. And, you know, they kept some of the backgrounds and ad-libs and stuff like that. And it was funny. It was a bittersweet because I was really excited because it was J.Lo. You know what I mean? But I was so mad at Irv because I was like, you know I wanted that record. I always, ever since I saw Friday, you know what I mean? Mary Jane. I was like, you give me that. I want that record. I was so mad. But I was happy at the same time because it was J.Lo.
What's up, Andy? I have a question for Ja Rule.
Okay.
All right, is it true that Ashanti sung J.Lo's vocals in the beginning of her career?
No, that's not true.
Was that a rumor? Was that a...
Yes.
Oh, it was?
Let me clear this story up.
Okay.
It is a rumor going around. So here's what happened. So I wrote I'm Real.
Okay.
For Jennifer Lopez. And I sung the original version of it as a reference.
Okay.
But I sound terrible, of course, on the reference. So Ashanti then sung the reference for Jennifer Lopez. And when they mixed down the record, Irv left some of the vocals underneath.
Ah, so Ashanti does appear on the song.
She has some vocals underneath, I believe.
Ashanti's vocals played a significant role in shaping the sound of the track. While she recorded the demo, as well as providing background vocals for the final version, her voice is layered so prominently that it often dominates the mix. J.Lo's own vocals appear to have been intentionally turned down, resulting in Ashanti's very distinct, smooth, melodic tones even more audibly present, especially on the hooks and bridges. Additional controversy arose regarding the lyrics. Some took issue with J.Lo, a Latina, using a racial slur which sparked protests and criticism from parts of the African American community.
Song I'm Real contains the word in the remix, and I understand it's going to be on the CD soon, the N-word, pardon me for saying it. You've upset an awful lot of people. Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
You know, for anyone to think or suggest or say that I'm racist is really absurd and hurtful to me. You know, the use of the word in the song, which was actually written by Ja Rule, was never meant to be hurtful in any way.
A lot of controversy about you saying a certain word or N-word in the song, and we want to give you a chance to clear it up and say what you want to say about it or whatever.
It was a lot in the news. I felt really, oh God, like it was just so crazy that people would even think something like that about me, and I just found it kind of hurtful, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this song, the way the word is used in the song, which was actually written by Ja.
Oh, show.
So we know, okay.
And I'm going to clean it up in a second. I'm going to let y'all
Okay. You know, it was never meant to be hurtful in any way. You know what I mean? I would never do anything like that. That is not me. I think everybody knows that. I think it was just sometimes people just trying to make news in a way, you know what I mean? And it felt hurtful because this song really came from the heart. We came together as two artists who just wanted to do something nice. You know what I'm saying? Something good.
I remember when, was it I'm Real? Yeah. Came out, and she used the N-word in the song, and everyone was oh my God over that. You were on that song.
I wrote it.
You wrote the song.
Yeah.
So you wrote that line for us.
Absolutely.
Was there like a sit down, like, I'm not sure if I should say this line or not?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's kind of a unwritten thing that Spanish and Puerto Ricans and niggas, and we're all kind of in the same family, and she, you know, so it's like, why can't she say nigga?
Fat Joe says it.
All my Spanish niggas I know say nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
Why do you
I
think?
never looked at them in any way and said like, yo, you know, watch that. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you think people were upset over that?
I think they were upset because they don't see her as Jenny from the block, Jenny from the Bronx. They see her as this global icon. Matter of factly, some people probably see her as white. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, one of those things, you know, and I think that's why people were really upset, because they don't understand the dialogue that is used in our hoods. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand. And that's how Puerto Ricans and Spanish people speak. That's how black people speak, and we are allowed to speak that way amongst each other.
This, combined with the fact that the song heavily leaned on hip-hop elements and samples, made some question whether the remix was an authentic crossover or a calculated pop move. However, given the song's title and theme, it was ironic that it was this song that really stirred up conversation around J.Lo's authenticity in the music industry. Over time, the remix has become a case study in discussions about ghost singing, crediting backing vocalists, and how record labels sometimes prioritize marketing and image over who actually performs the vocals on a track. Despite all of this, the track would climb the Billboard, eventually reaching #1 and spending 5 non-consecutive weeks at the top. The success made it the biggest hit of Lopez's career at the time, and helped her album rebound from number 90 to the top 10 on the Billboard 200. However, its chart position was partly driven by 2 different songs that counted as one Billboard entry. This led to complaints, which eventually resulted in Billboard changing its rules. From that point on, songs that had the same title but substantially different melodies would no longer have their airplay combined. Prior to this change, it was fairly common to see remixes released that barely resembled their original version. But this remix's success in particular sparked criticism over the practice, with some calling it a troubling trend of marketing remixes as the original song. It's also very likely that this may be one of the major reasons why we no longer get remixes that sound vastly different from their original counterparts. After the massive success of I'm Real, J.Lo and her team decided to double down and repeat the same formula for her next single, Ain't It Funny. This time, Ja Rule and Irv Gotti created a fresh version that sampled Craig Mack's 1994 hit that once again leaned heavily into hip-hop. The Ain't It Funny Murder remix had almost nothing in common with the original aside from the title, and instead functioning more like a brand new track. Once again, Ashanti recorded the demo and provided prominent background vocals that blended so strongly into the final mix that many listeners felt her voice overshadowed Lopez. By leaning into this formula, the remix once again dominated the charts worldwide, cementing J.Lo's crossover appeal. However, it continued to perpetuate the ongoing discourse surrounding how much Lopez was actually singing and how much credit should have gone to Ashanti. Given the recent change to Billboard, the double A-side single had two different chart entries. The original was a moderate success overseas but weak in the US, while the remix turned into a blockbuster stateside. Due to the ongoing success J.Lo experienced with the last two singles, she decided to fully lean into the theme of blending R&B with old-school hip-hop. Jenny from the Block, which would launch the third era, attempted to reflect Lopez's wish to stay grounded and connected to her Bronx roots, but once again, many of the vocals heard throughout actually came from a then aspiring singer, Natasha Ramos, who provided J.Lo with a reference track. After hearing the demo, it became clear that Ramos carries the entire chorus and bridge of the song. Natasha also revealed that she wasn't just tied to Jenny from the Block. Her voice is woven throughout much of Jennifer's third album, after she recorded multiple demos for the project, and her vocals remained during parts of the final mixes. Because her tone is strikingly similar to Lopez, the layering blurred the line between lead and backing vocals. For listeners, this created the impression that J.Lo was carrying all the weight, but in reality, Ramos's presence provided fullness and polish to many of the tracks.
I have thought to myself over the years, like, I wonder if Jennifer knows I got paid so little for all of the work I did on her album. I really hope that she doesn't. I really hope that she didn't. But also, I'm pretty sure she was in the room, so.
All right, so I don't know what year it was, but I had the opportunity to sing a reference track for Jennifer from the Block. A lot of people say she stole the song from me. She did not steal the song from me. That song was written for Jennifer. It was called Jenny from the Block. So I recorded it. They shopped it to her. She loved it. She loved the background vocals. They told me they wanted to keep me on there and they wanted me to sing background vocals on some more songs on this album. So she did go into the studio and record some background vocals over mine. I am convinced that they turned her vocals all the way down because it sounds almost identical to the reference track. One thing I did not know that they were going to do until after the song was released was keep my laugh. Like the laugh you hear on the song, that's my laugh. Like the laugh that you, when you're watching the video and there's a laugh and she laughs in the video, that's my laugh. The person saying from the Bronx, that's my voice. And they kept an ad-lib, and just for the record, ad-libs are not background vocals. Ad-lib is 100% a lead vocal. So, okay, so in regards to the negotiation and all that stuff, I 100% take accountability for the fact that I was not well-versed in the business aspect of the music industry. I was young, I was impressionable, and my manager was trash, okay? My manager was just this random dude from Connecticut who happened to be really good friends with the producer whose production company I was signed to at the time. All I remember is that I was in the studio recording my own stuff. He came back from this meeting and he tells me, all right, I got you $3,500. I'm sorry, what? You do know I recorded backgrounds for 5 songs on this album. And so he got fired that day, literally. That night, he was fired. And I wanted to fight it. I was like, there's no way. We have to be able to renegotiate. And I remember the answer I kept getting was, this contract is already signed, so you can't renegotiate. But, it's okay. You take the $3,500. Sometimes you have to, take less. It's for other doors to open for you. Like, that's how it was sold. Like, yeah, you're only getting $3,500 for all this work you did that's going to make her millions of freaking dollars. But, maybe for her next project, she'll reach out to you for background vocals or, yada, yada, yada. And me being young, I'm like, all right, I guess. Like, mature, but off rip felt like immediate resentment, immediately felt disheartened and heartbroken and done.
Okay, you guys, I'm on my way to work and I wanted to just like answer a question while I'm at a stoplight. No, I was on more. I was on 4 other songs. I was on I'm Glad, The One, Loving You, Baby I Heart You, and Jenny from the Block. I feel like all of the other ones, excluding Jenny from the Block, are very much true blue background vocals. I think the problem with Jenny from the Block is that they cut my laugh and they kept ad-libs and they turned her vocals like all the way down, and the From the Bronx part is me, and it's just, you know, yeah.
When Natasha spoke out about her vocals being used, it reignited conversations about how much of Jennifer's catalogue featured background or demo singers carrying key parts. Fans who had suspected for years that Lopez's choruses and bridges often sounded unlike her felt vindicated, while others criticised J.Lo's team for the lack of transparency. The revelation sparked debates online. Some listeners felt Lopez was unfairly taking credit for work done by session singers, while others defended her, noting that using backing and demo vocals are a common practice in pop music. And while the single was criticised as silly, cheesy or inauthentic, appearing on both best and worst song lists, it was still a global hit, reaching #1 in Canada and peaking top 5 in major markets like the US, UK and Australia. "2005 marked a sonic shift in J.Lo's sound, showcased by the release of the single Get Right to launch her 4th album, but behind it is a messy backstory. Prior to Lopez recording the song, she had reportedly been introduced to another track called One Thing, which was written by singer-songwriter Amory for her sophomore project. The track, produced by Rich Harrison, centered on 70s-inspired funk with heavy percussion. However, the song was caught up in label politics, with Columbia Records, who Amory was signed to, initially shelving it. Industry whispers suggested that J.Lo's team had tried to secure the track for her after hearing its potential, but Amory fought to keep it, eventually leaking it to radio herself that same year.
2005, right?
Touch. The album, Touch came out in 2005. One Thing came out in 2004 because I leaked it over Christmas because everyone will be on break, so they can't stop anything. Exactly. So I was like, I'm gonna be out here. I'm gonna drop a match. You know, for me, I was like, look, I think I might get dropped. So I just want people to hear the music. I don't really care about getting paid for it. I just want people to hear it because I believe in it. And they're on Christmas break, so we can just do it. And at the time, they were trying to like give the record to somebody else. They were trying to do that, but they couldn't because I wrote on the record too, so you can't just take it. And that was frustrating for them, I guess.
But why is this your standing with the label at this point? You got a hit in your pocket that they're trying to give to other people. Because
one, they didn't really understand that it was a hit totally. And then two, it was like, there's so many other big artists at the label, you know what I mean? And I'm still new and they're not really sure what I can do. Then they already have kind of like their pinnacle artists. So they're just looking at it like, we'll just filter it over here.
Do you know who they were trying to give it to?
Yes, Jennifer Lopez. That's how did you not know this story? And not that she was trying to wrest it away from me. It's just that's just what they were trying to do. You know what I mean? But it was just more like, and they weren't like, she wasn't trying to be like, give it to me. It was just like they were thinking, hey, we want this on her. We want it, but it's like you can't take it because it's my record. So that was just their plan. And I was like, well, I also think maybe it's not the best situation for me. So I'm gonna just leak it. And then it ended up blowing up. It like took off in the UK, like just off a DJ list. And then
that is such a polite J.Lo.
No, it's not. I love J.Lo.
Lopez, frustrated by the missed opportunity, decided to approach Harrison to create a similar track for her upcoming project. Instead, Rich presented the singer with an unused track he had created a year prior for Usher's Confessions. The track, which was originally titled Ride, used the same blaring saxophone loop, but Usher decided not to include it on his album. Seeing an opportunity to create a song with a similar style and cadence to One Thing, J.Lo used the track to create Get Right. The sonic overlap between these two songs created some controversy, with critics and fans noting that both shared similar structural DNA. Both relied on bold, repetitive loops. The difference, though, was that Amory's track felt raw and funky, while J.Lo leaned into a club-ready, polished sound. Ultimately, Get Right became a commercial success, reaching #1 in the UK and charting across the globe. It also received nominations at the 2005 VMAs, including Best Dance Video and Best Choreography. But the behind-the-scenes drama and whispers of sabotage cemented its reputation as one of the more contentious moments in her discography. Another track featured on the Rebirth album, Ride or Die, was initially recorded for Brandy's Aphrodisiac. Choosing not to record the song, it found its way to Jennifer, whose version appears on her Rebirth album. While Lopez performed the main lead vocals, Brandy's very distinct backing layers can still be heard enhancing the texture, creating a richer, fuller sound that blends the two voices. This practice is fairly common when a demo or reference track has strong vocal elements that complement the final recording. When recording songs, artists often rely on demos, reference tracks, or backing vocals in the creative process, but each serves a different purpose. Demos are rough or early versions of a song, usually sung by the songwriter or the intended singer. Artists and labels can then listen to these to decide whether the song suits their style and theme of their project. These tracks usually have unpitched or even unfinished vocals and can contain different lyrics or placeholders compared to the final product. And finally, reference tracks are usually used as a guide and typically recorded by the songwriter for the intended artist to mimic or take inspiration from. They show the intended vocal delivery, melody, or cadence, almost like a blueprint for the final performance. Now, vocals from reference tracks often make it into the final product, and it's more common than many people realize. For example, Kathy Dennis, who co-wrote Britney Spears' Toxic, recorded the reference track first, but some of her background vocals, especially in the chorus, remained layered alongside Britney's for the final version. Kesha also wrote Britney's Till the World Ends, and her reference vocals can still subtly be heard, particularly in the background. And Beyoncé's Check on It still contained background vocals from Kelly Rowland. Sometimes the reference singer's vocals are blended quietly under the main artists to add texture or strength, especially in choruses or harmonies. It's basically a studio trick. Sometimes the original reference has an energy, phrasing, or vocal texture that's hard to recreate, so producers keep it in to give the record more punch. While Jennifer contributed lead vocals to tracks on her early albums, her reliance on other singers for background vocals, and in some cases reference track elements, has attracted scrutiny over the years. Critics and fans have often pointed out that prominent backing vocals, sometimes from well-known artists or session singers, played a significant role in shaping the final sound of her recordings. And this practice, though common in pop music, has fueled ongoing discussions about the extent of her vocal presence on certain hits, and how much of the layered harmonies and subtle ad-libs come from other performers rather than Lopez herself. While some argue that the prominence of backing singers and demo contributions on her hits suggests a reliance on others, others see it as standard industry collaboration that doesn't diminish her talent, charisma, or star power, with many suggesting that artists who participated or contributed to J.Lo's projects were willing participants and have been compensated as such. But ultimately, it's up to the listener to decide. Did J.Lo steal her career, or has she simply been the target of disproportionate criticism?